私が幸せじゃなかったら、満たされてなかったら、こんな物語は書けないよ。なのに、忘れてごめんね。
神様の声、空気力学、ギリギリの場所に立ち見上げる世界で生まれた言葉、空を埋め尽くすよ。さあ吐き出せ、世界を作り直すんだ。空の青、水に変わり溺れる人々。光を求めてたどり着く先に、今もかけらのように揺れる可能性求め、あまた繰り返し、だけど信じているから、ずっとこの先もそれは蛍のように儚くても切なくても輝き続けたい。好きだけどまだ言えないの、わがままな恋心、目の前の運命の螺旋越えて、それでもすぐ飛び込んで抱きしめて、時の数だけいつまでも。桜舞う夜にもう一度夢を見よう。現実を抜き捨て花になろう。遥かな風のささやき、耳を澄ませばフルソフトウェア。Amatsutsumi.
All right, welcome back, and let's continue where we left off. When I visit Mana in her room, she's sitting on the floor, looking off into space. Mana. I call her name from the doorway.
どうしたの？もう音を上げたの？しばらく一人でと言ったでしょ？
Yes, you did, but can I come over there?
どうぞ。
Arigato. I sit down next to her, making sure I don't touch her. Even though we're not touching, though, I still feel the cold radiate from her skin. I never felt it this strongly. Is it a change in my perception caused by her kotodama? Or has her own condition gotten worse, independently of me?
何の用なの？
Nothing really. I just felt like being near you. But if you don't want me here, I can go somewhere else. She looks hard at my face. It's as if she's trying to weigh my intentions.
別に、誠がそうしたいなら、好きにすればいいわ。
Okay. I look up at the ceiling. The snowflakes are still falling out of thin air. It's cold, but beautiful too.
そう？
She holds out her hand, cupped as if to catch the falling snow. But as soon as each snowflake touches her hand, it silently disappears.
そうね。人が見れば美しいと思うのかもしれないわね。私は見慣れすぎて、すっかり当たり前のものになってしまったけれど。
She speaks softly, gazing at her hand. Do you dislike this Yuki, Mana? Nozomi's last words on her deathbed had become a kotodama, heard only by Mana. They had weighed on her like a noroi ever since.
正直、嫌いも好きもないわ。もう自分の一部だもの。
She shrugs, then hugs herself and shivers.
まあ、この寒さだけは困りものね。でも、仕方がない。
The adults back at the village had tried everything they could think of to free Mana from this noroi and failed. Knowing that she would be stuck with it for the rest of her life, she must have made her peace with it. And it's possible that she thinks the same way about me too.
わざわざ雪の話をしに来たの。
Not really, but it's a good topic. Until now, I haven't talked to her much about the snow. That's because talking about it will inevitably lead to talking about Nozomi's death. It's a sad memory for me, and surely an even sadder one for Mana, who was Nozomi's own twin sister. But I've always wondered about the Yuki. Even early on, the village adults were frantically trying to get rid of it. Mana never seemed too bothered by it. It was almost as if she knew from the beginning that her efforts wouldn't succeed. Their efforts. But if you don't want to talk about it, we don't have to. We can talk about something else. Or we don't have to talk about anything at all. It would be nice to have a conversation with her. But it's more important to me right now that I be by her side, even if we don't talk.
変な誠。
She looks at me curiously, her expression softening.
私はてっきり、早く言霊を解いてくれ。そう言いに来たのだとばかり思っていたのだけれど。
Well, I do want you to cancel your kotodama though. I'm worried about your health too. A kotodama as strong as this must be putting quite a strain on her body, especially since its duration is indefinite. But Mana surely knows her limits and how to use kotodama safely. A lot better than I do. And yet she still spoke this kotodama, knowing all that. The depth of her resolve means I won't be able to convince her with shallow arguments. She also told me not to apologize. That means that apologies aren't going to convince her to cancel her kotodama either.
やっぱり、怒っていないのね。誠は。
After looking at me for a while, she makes a strange observation. Okotta?
こんなひどい仕打ちをするなんて、って。
That never even crossed my mind. We had our share of quarrels in the past. But at least right now, no part of my brain has any desire to be angry with her. Everything she's doing now is because of my own actions. In fact, I'm more surprised that you're not angry at me. Seriously, I've been thinking about this whole night. She is such a saint, man.
そんなことないわ。怒っているわよ。
Yeah, but that
多少なりともね。
yeah, but that extent is just like this kotodama, man. You're the one who's still hurting yourself here, you know. She closes her eyes and exhales.
強い言霊を使ったから、あまり気力が湧かないだけ。
Opening her eyes again, she gazes dully at the snowflakes dancing in the air around her.
雪の話。私は別に嫌いじゃないわ。誠の方が避けているのかと思ってた。
Oh. I only did that because I thought you didn't want to talk about it. We have been misunderstanding each other for all these years. I guess that even when you've known someone since childhood, there could still be things you don't know about each other. I thought it would be painful for you to be reminded of Nozomi.
そうね。確かに辛いわ。最後の夢を見るたびに、今でも飛び起きてしまう。でも、
She looks down.
忘れてしまうのがもっと耐え難いの。そういう意味でこの雪が絆。私にとって救いであるのは事実よ。見れば嫌でも思い出す。望みの意志はまだ私の中で生き続けているって。
I understand very well what she's saying. No matter how painful your memories of a lost loved one are, it would be even more painful to lose those memories. Now that I regain my memories of my Akasan, I can say that from the bottom of my heart.
だからあなたのお母さんのことずっと黙っていたのは心苦しかった。
It wasn't your fault. It wasn't anyone's. The villagers got the truth from me for my own good. Even now, I've learned the truth. I had no resentment against them whatsoever.
なんだか妙な感じね。
She looks at me sideways with a wee smile.
私あなたと冷戦中のつもりなんだけど。
A little Cold War, huh? If you mean you don't want to talk to me, I could just sit here quietly if you prefer. I definitely don't want to displease or provoke her.
そんなことはないわ。
じゃあ、can we talk some more?
ええ。でもまだ言霊を解くつもりはないわよ。
She doesn't sound like she's trying to drive the point home to me. She's just mentioning it, but I can still feel her resolve in the words. I'm sure you don't, but that's fine with me. It's just, I realize once again how much I want to get to know you better, to understand you better. I need to. I suspect that because Mana was always the closest person to me, I had lazily postponed many things that I shouldn't have. I thought she'll always be there. I thought there'd always be a chance for me to broach whatever subject. It's been nice to have such a secure relationship, but security can also lead to laziness if one isn't careful. Security. Oh man. I don't know. The extent of your laziness, man, is so next level, man.
誠。
Now that I think of it, I never really asked you face to face about what happened the day Nozomi died. I'm sure it's painful for you to remember, but if you're willing, would you tell me about her last moments? Me, Mana, and Nozomi. It had always been the three of us, until that decisive moment, when we had to say goodbye to Nozomi forever.
いいわ。
She closes her eyes, then begins to tell me her story. When she's finished, I'm left speechless.
のぞみは最後まで誠のことを気にかけていたわ。
Her voice is a murmur now, as she reminisces.
だから私は絶対にあなたを失いたくないの。
I never knew. When Nozomi died, I was sick with the same disease too. By the time I was out of the woods and back to full health, her funeral had already come and gone. From how the adults behaved, I got the impression that her death was something I shouldn't mention. Though I felt troubled by it, I avoided mentioning her death to Mana, and she avoided mentioning the death of my parents. Plus, at that time, having just become an orphan, I was still processing my grief and worrying about the future. But now that I know that Nozomi explicitly entrusted me to Mana, it all makes sense. It was not just her own feelings for me, but the ones she inherited from Nozomi as well, that led her to do so much for me over the years.
さっきも言ったように、この雪は私とのぞみをつなぐ絆よ。
She holds her hand up to the stream of falling snowflakes and smiles faintly.
そして今は誠との絆でもあるのかしら。
Mana,
もう触っていいわ。私を優しく抱きしめて。
Of course. I do as I'm told, gently putting my arm around her and drawing her to my chest as I stroke her hair. The silken feel of it under my hand is the same as it always been.
なんだか、里にいた頃に戻ったよ。
Mana lets out a small, relaxed sigh. It does. Since we were young, we often simply sit together, embracing each other like this, without talking, without doing anything. For one thing, I always wanted to help her warm her cold body. And anyway, we were both lonely and had only each other for comfort. And eventually our embraces become more carnal.
ちょっと眠くなってきたかも。
Well, so much for that age scene. You should take a nap. Her small, cute yawn tells of the weariness she must feel from this morning's kotodama.
じゃあ、このまま私が眠るまでしばらく抱いていてくれる？
Yes, of course. If you want me to. I'll hold you forever and ever.
嬉しい。
She puts her own arm around me too and hugs me tight, as if clinging to me for support.
誠の体、本当に温かい。
Yours is colder than ever. But I'm grateful for the cold. It keeps my mind clear and my feelings vivid. Oyasumi, mana.
おやすみなさい。誠。
By the time Mana wakes up, sunset is approaching. Along the way, I dozed off a little bit too. It felt like mere minutes, but the day is mostly gone. She stares in my arms and slowly opens her eyes. Ohayo, Mana. Did you sleep well?
おかげさまで夢も見なかったわ。
How do you feel?
平気よ。さっきよりだいぶいい。
Suddenly, she looks out the bedroom door toward the staircase. どうしたの?
多分、心よ。帰ってきたみたい。
Wait, what do you mean? I think it's Kokoro. Doesn't she like get the ability? Doesn't she see things normally except for the snow? It's only like our guy who can't see them. It's already that late, huh? Mana must have heard Kokoro saying "Tadaima," but I can't hear her any more than I could this morning. Okay, so she's not there. I thought she was in the room because she was talking about the stairs. Mana's Kotodama is still in full effect.
おかえりなさい。ええ、大丈夫よ。
So she's in the room. She stands up, opens the door, and starts talking to thin air. Kokoro must be standing there.
まだ本調子とは言えないわ。もう2、3日は様子を見ようかと思う。
Wait a second. How does this work? If you can't perceive them, you can still bump into them, right? Because Mana did mention that he shouldn't be walking outside. He could get hit by a car because he can't perceive the car. So they could still physically bump to each other.
病院へ行くほどのことではないから、あまり心配しないで。
Her excuse for skipping school must have been that she had come down with something. In reality, she is suffering from exhaustion from the kotodama, so it's not really a lie.
ありがとう。心は優しい子ね。
She sticks out her hand. She's probably patting Kokoro on the head, I guess. I instantly imagine Kokoro's face under Mana's hand, looking a little ticklish but also smiling happily.
お兄ちゃん？さあ、朝以上のことは私にもわからない。ずっとここで寝ていたから。部屋にいないの？
Kokoro must be talking about me now. She must be worried for me since she hasn't seen me all day.
本当に心配性ね、心は。わかった。
She laughs and waves goodbye to the empty air. Kokoro must have gone downstairs again. What did she say?
教えないわ。言ったでしょ。誠は、私のことだけ考えていればいいって。
Mana's mood is much lighter than it was this morning, but she clearly has no intention of changing her mind. Hi. As long as she's saying that, there's no point in thinking about Kokoro. Of course, I'm sure that the longer this goes on, the more worried Kokoro and Asagi-san and the others will get. Right now, I just need to do everything I can to obey Mana's wishes and convince her to end this.
心たちのことが気になるなら、早く安心させてね、誠。
She smiles trustingly. I really have a hard time following the timing for Mana. She really speaks very slowly. It sure is hot. Before speaking, I stopped walking and looked around carefully to make sure nobody was watching. It's scary how deeply habits can lodge themselves in your mind. There was practically no chance that a harmless sentence like that could become a dangerous kotodama after all. But regardless, I always instinctively look around to make sure I was alone before I said a single word when outside the house. I quickly wiped the sweat from my forehead and looked up at the sky. It was clear and very blue. With nothing to block the sun's rays, just standing outside was enough to make me break into sweat. Maybe I should have said a kotodama to myself after all. Maybe something like, it's not hot. However, I closed my mouth and firmly and resumed walking homeward. I've been planting in the field since morning, but I've finished sooner than I anticipated. Each year closer to adulthood, I could tell that my body was growing stronger and my work efficiency was increasing. But as I grew up, I needed more and more food as well. I noticed again how hungry I was. I thought about the lunch Mana was probably already making at home. Hastened my steps. Tadaima!
おかえりなさい、誠。お疲れ様。
It's good to know that so Mana's the one who makes his food sometimes. He makes his own food during during the evening, I guess. I don't know, man. I really don't know their full arrangements. But it's possible they're probably cohabiting, you know. As I entered the doorway, Mana was already there to greet me with a smile. Arigato. For the last few years, her relationship with her parents had deteriorated, so she would often come around to my place. As a rule, we villagers avoided saying anything but the bare minimum to each other, but between family members, it was different. And yet, from what she told me, barely a word was spoken in the Koizuka household these days. She often complained to me about how stifled she felt there.
ご飯、もうじき炊けるから、あと少しだけ待って。
Everyone knew that we were betrothed, so nobody paid much mind to her visiting me so frequently. And of course, I had no objection. Visiting me was what she wanted to do. Most of all, when she was visiting, we could talk to each other freely, unlike when we met outside. I've been living alone since my parents died, so I was happy just to have someone to talk to. At the same time, though, I was worried about Mana's poor relationship with her parents.
今日はずいぶん早かったのね。
Yeah, it went a lot smoother than usual today. Usually there would be various interruptions like finding water snakes and having to spend time hunting them down. But luckily, there was nothing like that today.
そうそう。
Mana glanced toward the back of the house and chuckled.
窓のところに置いてあった手ぬぐい。洗って干しておいたわ。
Arigato.
洗い物はなるべく一箇所にまとめておいてもらえると助かるわね。
Wari. Such things never bothered me when I was living by myself, so I wasn't in the habit of paying attention to them. I hadn't used to clean or organize my house much, but recently Mana had started doing it for me once in a while. Apparently, her parents told her to at least help out with my housework, as she was going to be spending so much time here.
そろそろ良さそうね。
She opened the lid of the nabe, squinting through the bursts of steam that escaped. The smell of freshly cooked rice wafted past me, and my stomach growled softly in response.
お昼にしましょう。
She looked at me and chuckled in amusement. Okawari. I was so hungry that I devoured my whole bowl of rice in a few instants. Mana put down her own food and served me another helping of rice.
どうぞ。
Arigato. I brought the bowl to my mouth without even letting it touch the table. Working in the fields always made me very hungry.
いつにも増してよく食べるわね。
She watched me eat, impressed. But even she was quite a big eater for a girl. Her rice bowl was almost empty too. Yes, for some reason I feel like I can just keep eating and eating today.
お米、あっという間になくなりそうね。また持ってきた方がいいかしら。
She looked over at the crate where I stored my dry rice. My rice was being consumed much faster now that Mana had started eating here, so she would sometimes bring more rice from her house to help out. Can you really do that? You brought me some rice just the other day. Is there enough rice in your house for your parents to eat?
いいのよ。あの人たち、そもそも大して食べないんだから。若い私たちが消費した方が、お米だって喜ぶってものよ。
She rolled her eyes while scraping a last spoonful of rice from the bottom of her bowl. She really did seem to be on very bad terms with her parents. How did it come to this? I often wondered. But Mana didn't seem to want to talk about it, so I had to avoid prying too much. It was likely a series of small disagreements that piled up. But in the end, there was one obvious cause looming large. Nozomi's death in the epidemic. Mana's parents truly loved Nozomi. That's not to say that they neglected Mana, but Nozomi was special to them. The strength of her kotodama was incredible. Even at a young age, she was a bright, cheerful, positive girl. Loved by all. She was like a real-life prodigy. Everyone knew she was the village's bright, shining hope for the future. Of course, both I and Mana, Nozomi's younger twin sister, loved her dearly too. And yet now she was gone, taken suddenly by the epidemic. I can only imagine how vast the trauma and grief suffered by Mana and her parents were. Even I was in shock for quite a while after I heard the news. Mana served herself more rice and continued to eat, silently. She was never very talkative, even when we were much younger. She wasn't quite an introvert, but she did go out of her way to talk to others. She was more the type to let Nozomi do the talking while she looked on from a few steps behind. But yeah, that's a Emoto thing, especially if there's an anime involved. At least based from my experiences. Anyway, but now that Nozomi was gone, Mana found herself needing to stand up front, without anyone to defer to. Mana, who used to be the second most powerful Kotodama user, was now the most powerful one. And since Nozomi and I had been betrothed, Mana became the only remaining girl who could take Nozomi's place by my side. I wonder how they got betrothed in the first place. Like, what's so special about our guy?
ねえ、誠？
Her chaucer stopped moving as she turned to me. Nani?
お願いがあるの。
What is it? I put my rice bowl down too and looked back into her eyes. She spoke lightly, but I could tell she was serious.
今夜は、ここに泊まってもいい？
As I thought about the deeper meaning of what she said, I found myself unable to answer immediately.
ダメ？
Well, you want to. I don't mind, but... I choose my words carefully in my head before continuing. There was no problem at all in letting her stay the night at my house. The two of us were betrothed to each other, which is why it was fine for us to spend all day together too. So even if staying the night involved something sexual, that would be between the two of us and nobody else would object. Our people were relatively infertile, so if anything, the others would be happy we could bring a new child into the world. But why so silly? That's what worried me. Although recently she had been spending most of her time in my house, she would always leave and go back to her own house to sleep at night. As she stopped even going back to them at night, what are her tenuous ties with her family finally be severed for good. Of course, I had no right to pry too deeply into the affairs of the Koizuka family, Kazoku. But it pained me to see Mana not getting along with what remained of her Kazoku, since I myself had lost my entire Kazoku in the epidemic.
疲れてしまったのよ。もう、
She put down her rice bowl.
結局、私が何をどれだけしようと、あの人たちが求めているのは、望みなの。望みじゃなくて、私が死ねばよかったのにって、
No,
思っているのよ。
no, they wouldn't think that. I knew her parents weren't the type of people to wish death upon their own child. Hopefully, no parents were. No. What they surely must be wishing was that both Nozomi and Mana were still alive. Sadly, the hope could never be fulfilled. They're your own flesh and blood. They're your Kazoku. So you should treasure them while you can.
そうね。
She sighed.
誠にしてみれば、私はいるだけマシな状態で贅沢を言っているように感じるのかしら。
Not exactly picky. I just think it would be a waste to let yourselves become estranged. Once you lose your family, you can't get them back again. And she would have known that since she had already lost Nozomi forever.
そう思って、なんとか耐えてきたのよ。今までも。私だって、できれば大切にしたい。好きでいたい。実の親だもの。
She gazed at her chopsticks, balanced on top of her bowl.
だけど虚しい。出来の良かった。死んだ子の年を数え続ける親を目の当たりにし続けるのは、私は望みの代わりにはなれない。だって、私は望みじゃないんだもの。
Mana. What she said struck a chord in my heart.
誠には、私の勝手で迷惑をかけてしまって、悪いと思ってるわ。
Yeah. You're not imposing at all. I'm always happy to have you here with me. I hastily shook my head. You really can't stand to be in your parents' house. You can stay here as long as you like. And there's still a sliver of hope that you might repair your relationship with them. All I could say is, there's no need for you to take that final step of cutting them off yourself. Eventually, that brings an end to all relationships. But until then, there's no reason to shut the door prematurely.
誠。うん。わかった。
Her expression softened as she picked up her bowl and chopsticks again. The sun slowly made its way down from zenith, and eventually evening arrived. We weren't doing anything, just sitting side by side and enjoying each other's company. The breeze blowing in from the window had become cooler and it felt nice on my cheeks. It was quiet. It'll be sundown soon. I murmured into Mana's ear, her head resting on my shoulder. She nodded slightly, but made no move to get up. You're not going to head back? The nights in the village were pitch black, dark. It was hard to see where you were going in the darkness, so Mana would always leave before the sunset. She shook her head slightly, but she didn't lift her head from my shoulder.
まだ、帰りたくない。
She put her arms around me and hugged me tight, like a child clinging to its parent. I returned her embrace, stroking her back with one hand. I just wish she could find peace.
誠はいつも優しいわね。誠が私の家族だったらよかったのに。
I mean, you could turn that into a reality. We've always been very close. It's almost the same thing. And we're betrothed to each other. Eventually, we really will be family. She suddenly looked up at me, a pleading expression on her face.
誠は私でいいの？
Her tone was unusually weak. Her voice seemed to be trembling.
本当は私と言い名付けなんて嫌なんじゃないの？みんなに言われて仕方なく受け入れただけじゃないの？
I looked down at her. I could see the uncertainty shimmering in her eyes. I don't want you. I wouldn't be doing this. I hugged her tighter. You're more precious to me than anyone else in this village.
誠、嬉しい。
As she brought her cheek closer to mine, I could smell the sweet fragrance of her hair. My heart jumped at the sensuality of her approach. At our ages, we had long since begun to grow interested in sexual things, of course. But until now, we still hadn't crossed that line. Oh, okay, so this is the first time they had sex. Okay, got it. Since we were betrothed, the time to consummate our relationship would naturally arrive one day. We thought, or at least I did. But conversely, maybe we always thought of our betrothal as something about the future, not today.
誠、
Her fingertip traced the outline of a cheekbone. The uncertainty shimmering in her eyes dissipated as a burning heat grew to take its place. Mana. Something deep in my breast told me that the time had finally come. Mana nodded, then opened her lips.
抱いて。
Wait, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Let's go. My eyes open. I look around at the clock. It's the same time I usually wake up. It's impressive how deeply habits can lodge themselves in your mind.
うん。誠、
At my side, Mana steers, frowning slightly in her sleep. Her hand is tightly clasping the sleeve of my shirt. It's as if even in sleep she doesn't want to let me go. I place my other hand over hers and squeeze it softly. A smile of relief breaks across her face as she lets go of my sleeve and squeezes my hand instead. I think back at the first time we slept together. That night I was just now dreaming of. That night, all throughout our first awkward attempt at sex, she never let go of my hand. I stroke her hair, watching her sleep for a time, but she continues to show no signs of waking. She must still be very tired from speaking to Kotodama yesterday. I'd like to escape from the situation as soon as possible, partly out of concern for her health. What should I do now? Normally I get out of breakfast, go downstairs to make breakfast. But in my current situation, that would be difficult. I can't perceive Kokoro or Azuki-san, and they can't perceive me either. If I mess with anything in the kitchen, I could cause trouble for them. If I happen to bump into them while one of us is handling a blade or something hot, someone could even be injured. No, I have to be very careful when doing anything right now. Still though, I'm pretty hungry. Last night, Azuki-san didn't make any dinner for me, so Mana shares hers with me, along with some donuts Kyoko brought with her. But that wasn't enough to keep me full through the night. Mana is still sleeping peacefully. It would be a little sad to wake her up now. No, very sad. I'd like to get my breakfast without relying on her, if possible. That's it. I have an idea and slowly slide out of bed. After changing my clothes and going downstairs, I find that nobody is there as I expected. I can't sense anyone's presence at all. Mana's Kotodama is clearly working just as well as it was yesterday. It really is amazing. If I tried a Kotodama like that, I'm sure it would have started to falter right now. I'll plot a course to the front door from memory that will hopefully avoid bumping into Kokoro and Azuki-san where they usually stand. I don't know if I manage not to bump into them, but I make it outside to the street. Just like yesterday, the sky is racing blue. The street is totally empty, with not a person to be seen or heard. I almost feel like I have the whole town to myself, But of course, that's not actually the case. There are probably plenty of people around. And what's more, though I can't see them, they can all see me. I take a deep breath to calm myself down. I had to act in such a way that the people around me won't be able to tell I'm blind or deaf to their presence. If I take too long, it'll be time to go to school, and some of my classmates might walk by. That would be bad. I'll have to do this carefully, but also as quickly as possible. I bought some onigiri and pan at the konbini, making sure to pay exactly so the cashier wouldn't try to give me change. I wonder how he was able to do that though. It was really strange. But the checkout counter looked completely empty and motionless to me the whole time. It seems Mana's Kotodama is selectively erasing all information that might indicate a person's presence to me. The only hint that something was happening was the sounds of the cash register. That's an odd thought at the moment like this, but I can't help but be impressed at the sheer quality of the Kotodama. I did briefly consider closing my eyes and trying to make my way around by hearing alone. My ears seemed like my least affected sense, so I thought it might work, and I tried it out for a minute, but I quickly realized how much I rely on my eyes in daily life. It might not be impossible to navigate blind, but even if I use my Kotodama to make it easier, it would take forever to get used to. Well, at least I got what I came for. Breakfast. I take out an onigiri, unwrapped it, and start to eat. I must have been hungrier than I realized because the onigiri is gone within seconds. Maybe I should have waited until I got home. No. If I ate in the room, might be woken up by the smell of food. What time is it anyway? I take my ketai out of my pocket and look at the clock. It's only a short while before everyone will start walking to school. If I stay outside for too long, one of my fellow students might see me. I start to eat one last onigiri before going back inside when suddenly it hits me. Wait a second. I stare at my phone. Oh yeah, he could interact with his phone. What would happen if I called someone? Just now at the konbini, I could hear the sounds of that cash register. If ketai is a machine, maybe I can hear a sound human voice as long as they're over the phone. I'm fully prepared to go along with Mana until she relents and cancels her Kotodama. I don't want to trick her or cheat my way out of this, but I'm concerned that Kokoro and the others might be worried about me. It might be worth it to at least try and see if I can contact them. Here goes. I steel myself and select Kokoro's mango from my address book. Unfortunately, I can tell that her phone has stopped ringing, and my screen says the call is connected. But I can't hear her voice on the line. How about text? Can you do a mail? Apparently, I still can hear her voice even over the ketai. Mana's Kotodama really is something else. I'm alright. Don't worry about it. I'm not sure whether she can hear me or not. Mana did say she's spoken Kotodamas to both Kokoro and Azuki-san too. But I'll try to let her know I'm safe anyway before I hang up. Alright, what about mail? Mana's Kotodama can't stop me from reading and writing text, can it? What the heck is this? I open the text Kokoro sent me back a while back and my jaw drops. I can tell that there is some kind of text on the screen, but it's blurry and I can't tell what it says at all. Alright, that Kotodama was very thorough. My brain must be recognizing this text as Kokoro's words, and then ignoring it, just as Mana's Kotodama commands it to. And this is how Kokoro's text looks to me. She probably won't be able to read any text I send to her either. I almost feel dizzy as I keep thinking. Mana has been in the house since yesterday and hasn't gone to school. That means she hasn't been able to speak of Kotodama to anyone other than Kokoro and Azuki-san. I think she's told the school via Kokoro that she'll be homesick for a while. That means that my place to school and my place in this world haven't crumbled away just yet. But the longer this drags on, the more precarious my position will be. For many reasons, it's time to do or die.
見つけた。
I hear Mana's voice behind me. I put my ketai back in my pocket and turn around.
探したのよ。急にいなくなるから。心配したわ。
I was so hungry, so I thought I'd go buy some breakfast. I show her the shopping bag with the remaining pan and onigiri in it. I would have apologized before making excuses, but I can't because her kotodama telling me not to apologize is still in effect.
自分で買い物をしてきたの？
Her eyes widen in surprise. Yeah, it was kind of nerve-wracking, but I managed to do it.
思い切ったことをするのね。私に言ってくれればよかったのに。
You were sleeping so peacefully that I couldn't bear to wake you up. Her face screws up as if she's about to start crying. Then she suddenly wraps me in a desperate hug.
目が覚めて、誠がいなかったから、すごくドキッとしたわ。また私を置いていってしまったんじゃないかって。もう、勝手に遠くへ行かないで。
Damn. Now you can't do anything, man. I won't. I can't apologize directly, but I try to sound as contrite as I can as I stroke her hair. I should have just gone a little quickly instead of doing all these stupid experiments with the ketai, closing my eyes. She suddenly looks down, presses her temples, and groans softly. Oh, because she just used the kotodama, right? Mana, what's wrong? I bend down to look at her face. There's a film of sweat on her forehead, and she's grimacing in pain. Does your head hurt? Let's go inside, quickly!
大丈夫。心配しないで。痛くない。
Oh man, she's really... She mutters to herself and slowly looks up again. Her expression is back to normal, but her face is still horribly pale. Her skin, normally fair, is bland white, the color of Yuki. You can say that, but you don't look one bit fine.
私が大丈夫と言ったら、大丈夫なの。
She turns her face away from me, pouting like a little kid. It's a cute gesture, but right now that makes all the more uncomfortable to look at. Mana, that headache. It's probably because...
使いすぎだと言うんでしょ。わかってるわ。
She glares sharply at me.
あなたのように考えなしにホイホイ使ってきたわけじゃないのよ。私は。
Shiteru? The adults in the village intentionally never taught me the proper use of kotodama, but Mana has always known about the dangers. So I know that she's always careful, and only speaks of kotodama when she's fully prepared to do so. It's just... But have you ever been distrained after speaking of kotodama?
ないわ。
I knew it. That means you're in unknown territory now.
そうよ。それが何だっていうの。
At this rate, your headache will just get worse and worse. Though she has more experience with kotodama than I do, I'm sure I've come closer to that when using it than she has. So I know. It's not just that. You'll feel completely exhausted, and nausea will come soon after.
それも言霊で何とかするわ。
Eventually, you won't be able to.
そうなの？
She finally starts to look worried. Yeah. You don't totally lose your kotodama noruku, but it starts going weird. That's only natural, though. Erasing your pain with kotodama doesn't actually make the damage go away. She hugs herself as she thinks. Mana. Hey. Let's stop this, okay? The longer these kotodama last, the more strain it will put on you. I'm worried about you, Mana.
嘘。
She looks at my pocket, her gaze becoming sharp again.
私が来る前に携帯電話を使っていたでしょ。
I nod and take my ketai out of my pocket. I can't very well deny it at this point.
心に連絡しようとしたのね。
Her face darkens as she scrolls through my call history. I mean, he could have at least tried the Hotaru, man, but I think trying to contact Kokoro was the worst situation, was the worst person to do that to. And this just when she started to recover from the sudden headache. Yes, but I couldn't hear anything, and I couldn't read any of the text messages.
当然よ。私の言霊を 甘く見ないで。
She puts my ketai away, looking irritated. Apparently, it's getting confiscated indefinitely. Yeah, I think I don't know. Maybe she would have reacted differently if it wasn't Kokoro. Although, okay, fine. The act of the phone is like goes against the just only think about me.
まだ私のことだけを考えてくれないの。
Okay, there you go.
そんなに心が気になる？私よりもあの子がそんなに大切？
Honestly, yeah. If he did really try, if he called someone else, I think she would have taken it a little bit better than this. This is bad, Mazui. I can see distress in her eyes.
どうも思っていた以上に。誠は重傷みたいね。
Her tone becomes colder and colder. I just wanted to tell her not to worry. I take Mana's hand, trying to find some way to get back into her good graces. She and Azuki-san probably think I'm just suddenly disappeared, right?
ええ、
She nods.
部屋を覗いたらいなくなっている。帰ってこない。どこへ行ったのかしらって。
As I thought.
あまり心配することはないと言ってあれば。弱い言霊を使ってね。だからしばらくは気にならないはずよ。でも、
She looks at me sadly.
誠がそんな調子なら、もっと強い言霊を使って、完全に気にしないようにせざるを得ないかしら。
No, you can't. I can't let her do that. What can I do? She sealed my own kotodama, so I have no way to stop her. Bro, it's so obvious, man. She literally only told you just to think about her, man. Why did you just do that, man? There's only one way. Mana, I'm begging you. I squeeze her hand desperately. Oh yeah, she likes this shit. I forgot she likes this shit. She smiles bewitchingly, and shivers run down my spine.
ああ、やっぱり、いいわね。誠のその、困った顔。体の奥がうずいちゃうわ。
She steps forward, closing the distance between us as she squeezes my hand in return.
ねえ、誠。言ったでしょ？止めたければ、ちゃんと私を安心させてくれないとって。
What exactly does that entail? I mean, obviously it's not sex. Because they do it so obvious, so many times, and even then he still did what he did to Kokoro. So what is it? I mean, it's obvious, but like, but what should I do? How can I reassure you?
簡単よ。証明して。私への気持ちを。
Oh, you mean go back to the village, I guess. She places one hand on my chest.
言い名付けの私は、誠の一番大切な、特別な存在なんだって、実感させて。
No way, it's as simple as an HC. No way. That's too lazy. You are. That's why I'm so worried about you. All I can do now is plead with her and hope she relents.
嬉しいけれど、やっぱりもう、言葉だけではね。
She looks at me meaningfully.
あなたまだ、言霊を使っているような感覚のままなんじゃない？さあ、どうやって私に言うことを聞かせようかって。そう思っていない？
Not at all. I really just don't know what I should do. I'm at my wit's end. I'm about to fall on my knees in frustration. But nothing I say reaches Mana's heart any. Will nothing I say reach Mana's heart any longer?
いい顔だわ。かわいそうな誠。でも、さすがにちょっといじめすぎたかしらね。
With a smile that's half sadistic and half loving, she gently touches my cheek.
私は、あなたを絶望させたいわけじゃない。ただ、自分を取り戻してほしいだけなの。あなたがこれから、きちんと私の望みを叶えてくれるなら、新しい言霊を使うことは、控えると約束する。なんて、我ながら大甘な情報だと思うけど、どうかしら？
I'm really happy to see Mana start read manga, eat donuts, become friends with Kokoro and Kyoko. She seems to be enjoying herself more than when she was back in the village, And she probably thinks similarly about how I would change her too. Of course, I want to grant your wishes. I also want to get us out of this situation, for my sake and hers. If words aren't enough, what else do I have to do?
それを考えるところからしてほしいわね。と、本音としては言いたいところだけど、これ以上いじめたら、さすがの誠も泣いちゃうかしら。
She laughs and brings her mouth close to my ear. Then,
抱いてくれないかしら。あなたの思いを、形としてはっきりと見せるために。
oh, okay. I mean, I like that, but like, that's a boring response.
初めての時の優しい気持ちを思い出せるように。心を込めて。
Her soft voice carries no kotanama this time, and she draws me by the hand. Okay, welcome back. I open my eyes. It seems I've been sleeping for quite a while after we finished making love. It's already evening, huh? I look around and realize Mana isn't in the room. Did she go back to her room to sleep, or maybe she's already awake and has gone somewhere?
起きたのね、誠。
Mana returns, laughing the front of her yukata to fan herself. While I was sleeping, she took a bath to wash off the sweat. But looking at her face, she doesn't seem refreshed. In fact, she looks even more tired than before. Coming up to the bed, she sighs and lies down next to me. As she walks, she's almost dragging her feet on the ground. With Mana in this condition, maybe it wasn't a good idea for Astas. I knew it. There's also that. Daijobu? You're starting to look pale again.
心配ないわ。また少し眠れば良くなるわよ。
Her eyelids slowly close. Mana. Within moments, her breathing becomes deep and regular. And while she doesn't answer, I gaze at her sleeping face for a while. It might make me feel impatient. It might make me feel inadequate. But for now, I just had to deal with what I can. A sudden chill in the back of my neck wakes me up. Outside the window, the summer sun is blazing in the bright blue sky. But inside this room, it's almost as if winter has arrived. I can almost forget that I'm in bed under the covers. Mana stares in my arms. Her face is still pale, but she doesn't seem to be in pain at least.
少し寒いわ。誠。
Frowning slightly, she hugs me a little tighter. She doesn't seem to be awake yet, so she must still be dreaming.
いや、離れないで。ねえ、誠。
That's alright, Mana. I'm right here. I whisper in her ear as I hug her in return. She entwines her legs with mine. The touch of her feet is pleasantly ticklish and cool. Her expression softens as she lets out a sigh. Then, slowly, she returns to the steady breathing pattern of deep sleep. While relieved that she seems to be comfortable, I'm alarmed at how much colder I'm feeling today than yesterday. The amount of snow I can see around Mana's body has definitely increased too. I think it means that her snow curse is gaining the upper hand over her. Sumari, she's weakening. And accordingly, her resistance to the kotodama that was placed on her long ago is also weakening. It's incredible that Nozomi's kotodama could still persist so many years after her death. To say that her kotodama ability was orders of magnitude greater than mine would be an understatement. And Mana, while not reaching Nozomi's level, is still one of the strongest kotodama users in the history of the village. To them, my kotodama are mere child's play, And to me, theirs are like the worst of gods. I decided to stay in bed and keep Mana warm, at least until she wakes up. She might never know that I made that decision, but I'm not doing it for show. Even if she never cancels her kotodama, even if she tries to force me to go back to the village with her, she's still a very precious person to me, and she's one of the people I want to be happy. And so, oyasumi nasai, Mana. Honestly, I'm not very sleepy anymore, but I close my eyes anyway, a bit forcefully. As I drift off to sleep, I pray that she will find peace. It's a little past noon when Mana finally wakes up. She stares, then slowly opens her eyes. Her face is no less pale than yesterday, and she doesn't look well rested at all. It's clear that she isn't refreshed from her long sleep. It reminds me of how Azuki-san looked a few weeks ago, which worries me. Ohayo, Mana.
おはよう。
She lets out a small yawn and rubs her eyes. Then instead of getting up, she rolls onto her side and wraps me in a hug. Mana.
よかった。誠がどこにも行かなくて。
Nope. I nod and pat her on the back a few times.
ずっと私を抱いてくれていたの？
She looks surprised to see my arms encircling her body. That's right. You look cold, so I thought I could help by warming you up.
ありがとう。だからこんなにぐっすり眠れたのね。
She smiles happily and kisses me on the cheek.
今何時くらい？
It's a little past lunchtime, I think. Mana looks out the window, squinting in the sunlight.
やだ、ほんと。もうすっかり昼ね。まだ朝かと思ってた。おはようじゃなくて、こんにちはだわ、これじゃ。
I guess you're right. Konnichiwa. I correct my earlier greeting, and Mana stifles a burst of laughter.
こんにちは、誠。
How are you feeling?
悪くないわ。誠のおかげでね。
Despite what she says, though, she looks pretty bad. If you're not feeling well, you can just say so. There's no need to hold it in.
このくらい大丈夫よ。なんてことないわ。
She probably thinks she sounds confident and reassuring, but her voice is wavering slightly. I can easily see the signs since I've gone through this myself. She's pushing herself. And what's worse, her body isn't as strong as mine, while her kotodama is far stronger. It's no surprise that maintaining a strong kotodama is taking a much heavier toll on her than it did on me.
寝坊してごめんなさい。お腹が空いたでしょ？私も一緒に行くから、何か食べるものを買いに行きましょうか。
She slowly sits up in bed. Just from looking at her movements, I can tell how sluggish she must feel. You shouldn't push yourself. We should stay in the house.
でも下にはあの人がいるわ。言霊を使わずに、誠の分まで食事を用意するのは、ちょっと難しいわね。
She's probably right. And I don't want her to use any more kotodama if possible. What if I go by myself again then?
それはダメ。
She shuts me down immediately.
私、もう誠を一人にするつもりはないわ。あなたと、離れたくないの。
Her voice is thin as she buries her face in my chest. While I stroke her hair, I try to protest. But the snow falling around you is clearly growing. She tilts her head upwards and watches the snowflakes as they fall. It means you're weakened, doesn't it?
そうね。
She admits reluctantly.
自分でも感じているわ。胸の中で、望みの言霊がざわめくの。
Then all the more reason that you should cancel your kotodama soon. You need to save your strength to recover. Otherwise, I have a bad feeling about what could happen otherwise.
ダメ。
She slowly gets out of bed and stands up.
せっかく誠が昔のように優しくなってくれたところなのに。
You don't need that kotodama. Even without it, that's still...
そう信じたいわ。
She looks at me sadly and shakes her head.
私は誠を傷つけたくない。誠に幸せであってほしい。だけど、それ以上にあなたを失うわけにはいかないの。絶対に。
Her face suddenly tightens into a grimace as she presses her temples. She doubles over in pain, then totters a few steps forward. Mana! I jump out of bed and support her body to stop her from falling down. Her breathing is ragged as sweat beads on her forehead. Mazui, you need to lie down.
くどいわよ、誠。私が行くと言ったら、行くの。私は、苦しくないわ。
Forcibly shutting off the pain with her kotodama, she shakes off my grip on her arms.
もう、大丈夫。
You're obviously straining yourself.
平気よ。自分にかけるくらいなら。
Her face is as white as a ghost, but her expression is as calm and collected as ever. What a tremendous mismatch. She turns her back to me.
着替えてくるわ。一緒に買い物に行くわよ。
Mana, this isn't good. At this point, it's clear that nothing I do will convince her to stop this. She'll have to come to the right conclusion on her own. Everything I've learned about her over the years confirms this.
いいわね。
Yes, I'll change too.
お願い。じゃあ、また後で。
So saying, she trudges off to her room. Mana probably doesn't realize just how dire her condition really is. But that said, I still have no way of forcing her to cancel her kotodama. All I can do now is stay by her side and watch for any sudden changes in their symptoms. And thankfully that fits with what she wants me to do. Stay by her side. Despite what she said, Mana had to stop to rest several times along the way, so our shopping trip took quite a long time. It was bizarre to link arms with Mana and walk around the apparently abandoned streets. I couldn't help but wonder what would happen if we kept walking all the way to school. Mana didn't have much of an appetite, so after barely eating any of what we bought, she went back to her room to sleep some more. I thought I'd go and sit with her while she slept, but she told me to keep out of the room. Apparently, while we were shopping, she caught a glance of her own face in the mirror and realized how exhausted she looked. And now she said she didn't want me to see her exhausted face while she was asleep. I really am worried. Her lack of appetite is probably because she started to lose her sense of taste, just like I did. If she hadn't been suppressing the pain with her kotodama, she'd probably be too nauseated to keep any food down anyway. She's in dire straits now. I'm sure she's close to her limit. School is already over. Looking at the clock, I see that it's around the time that those students who don't have after-school club activities start walking home. I wonder what my classmates are thinking about me these days. Kokoro believes correctly that Mana hasn't been feeling well, but she's been commanded not to worry too much about my disappearance. If people like Kyoko or Hotaru talk to her, wouldn't they find it strange that she seems so unconcerned about me? I look at my kaban, lying untouched on my desk, and narrow my eyes. In the worst case, I may end up leaving this town without ever seeing any of them again. I accepted that when I decided to trust Mana and go along with her wishes, but it doesn't make me feel any less sad about it. All this just makes me realize yet again that the Oribe household and my school are both very important places to me. Time to say my goodbyes, huh? When I first came here, I was driven only by my curiosity and only led by the voice of my Kasan saying, or so I thought, Ikenasai. I barely thought it through anything. I hadn't planned or anticipated anything concrete, like how long I was going to stay here, for example. But once I started going to school and I came to hope that I could stay there until graduation. And now leaving aside the situation with Mana, I started to want to stay here for as long as I can. I kept thinking I wanted to stay a little longer, and then a little longer than that. And before I knew it, I started wanting to stay here indefinitely. I could see how it might seem childish, but that's just how I feel. It'll be sad when I had to leave. Then I laughed at my own hypocrisy. When I decided to save Azuki-san's life, I told myself I was ready to die. I told myself I was ready to say goodbye to this town and all the people in it. And yet here I am, still feeling reluctant to let go. There's no way that Azuki-san was more important to me than Mana is to me now. So the only explanation is that in the weeks since Azuki-san's recovery, I've become that much more attached to everything and everyone here. In that sense, Mana's concern about me is well founded. I really am infatuated with the outside world. But Mana was right when she said that she and I will never really belong to this town. And there's no way I'll sacrifice her just for a chance to stay here. So, when she wakes up, I'll sit her down and have a talk with her. I'll tell her my decision before it's too late for her. I'll tell her that if she cancels her kotodama, I'll go back to the village with her. Suddenly I hear a small sound and my bedroom door opens. At first I thought Mana had woken up, but there's nobody behind the door. No. Wait. I can faintly, very faintly, see the vaguest outline of a human figure. Who is it? Kokoro?
へえ。
It's Hotaru, isn't it?
いやー、誠さん。いくらなんでも、ホタルとココロンを間違えるのはないんじゃないかな。
Of course, it's the person who's not affected by kotodama.
一応設定上はお兄さんなわけなんですし、しっかりしてくださいよ。
But the voice is very muffled, so I can barely hear it. But I can make out the words. Hotaru, is that you? I look in the direction of the voice and concentrate hard.
はい、間違いなく確実に誠さんの可愛い後輩のホタルですよ。
The Kouai is here to save the day. Holy shit. I'm excited. What on earth? And since I'm not hallucinating, Hotaru really is standing there.
もしかしなくても、誠さん、ホタルのことが見えてなかったりします？
She already figured out what's going on. I always knew she was a smart one. Hi, that's Soyo. Also, I can only hear your voice very faintly. Could you come a little closer so I can hear you better?
いいですけど、そういうふりをしてホタルをからかってるんだったら怒りますからね。
It's not. Just give me a minute to explain.
しょっと。
Wow, this is such a good CG. Oh, I just realized he's wearing his uniform. We're sitting back to back now. Since she said it wouldn't do for us to be face to face. I can feel the weight of her body lean against me.
さて、それでは詳しいお話を聞かせていただきましょうか。誠さん、もうこの際観念してブワーッと景気よく洗いざらい白状しちまうのがおすすめですよ。
As usual, there's something comically self-important about her tone. Before I know it, I'm breaking into a smile. Sure. But first, why are you here, Hotaru?
ココロンの様子がちょっと変だったから気になったんです。マナちゃんが体調崩してしばらくお休み、誠さんもって言うから。あら、それは大変。大丈夫なの？って聞くと、大丈夫、気にしないでって。
And that was weird to you? I could see how Mana's Kotodama shaped Kokoro's answer. But in the end, it didn't seem like a very abnormal thing to say.
変ですよ。いつものココロンだったら、こうです。そうなの。大したことはないみたいなんだけど、やっぱり心配で、って。
Ah. Soka. Hotaru's impression of Kokoro sounds spot on.
そこで、むむっと思ったホタルは、ちょっと踏み込んで、具合はどんな感じ？病院には行ったの？とか聞いてみたわけです。するとまあ、やっぱり同じように、大丈夫大丈夫、気にしないで。帰ってくる始末。はっはー、これは、と、ビビッときましたよ。また、言霊だなって。それでまあ、何かトラブルでも起こったのかもしれないと思って、こっそり様子を見に忍び込ませていただきました、と。何事もなかったら、可愛く笑ってごめんなさいするつもりで。あ、もちろんマナちゃんとお取り込み中だったら、無言で回れ右して帰りましたよ。
I'm impressed. She really is sharp-witted. I take my stars yet again that she's on my side. If she had been my enemy, I'm sure Mana and I would have long since been driven out of town.
で、何があったんですか？ホタルが見えないこととも関係あるんでしょうか？
Yes, it does. I summarize what's been happening as best as I can. And so, Mana's Kotodama is making it impossible for me to perceive anyone except her. So obviously I couldn't go to school.
なるほど。そういうことでしたか。
But I still have no idea why I can perceive you. My first thought was that Mana's Kotodama might be starting to fade. But I'm still unable to use my own Kotodama, or apologize to her for anything, so those other Kotodamas are still in full effect. In which case, there's no reason that the Kotodama that blocks out the perception of other people wouldn't be fully active too. So the only thing I can think of is that it must have something to do with how Kotodamas don't work on Hotaru specifically.
不思議ですね。だって、その認識できないっていう言霊は、ホタルにかけたんじゃなくて、誠さんにかけられたものでしょ？
Hotaru seems just as puzzled as I am. Exactly, Sunatori.
なのに、どうして誠さんがホタルのこと見えちゃうんでしょう？謎ですね。
I don't understand it either. The thing is, I can't see or hear her completely clearly. That fact must be the Kagi to explaining this. But I don't have time to investigate that right now.
でも、今の話を聞く限り、結構、お手上げっぽくないですか？
Pretty much. I can't use my Kotodama, so I can't force Mana to do anything.
ホタルにもできませんよ。
I wasn't planning to. Mana and I can't make Hotaru do what we want with our Kotodamas, so that does make her an obstacle to us sometimes. But that doesn't mean that Hotaru is able to make Mana or me do what she wants either.
まあ、そうなると、やっぱり地道にマナちゃんを説得するしかないってことですよね。
Ah,
そもそも、どうしてこんなややこしいことになってるんです？マナちゃんを怒らせるようなことをしたんですか？誠さん。
I can't bring myself to say that it was because I slept with Kokoro. But considering Hotaru's sharp intuition, she might have already guessed the truth. Yes, I didn't think it would bother her so much though.
すごく誠さんらしいです。それ。
Like how she already knows exactly what it is. Really?
要するに女心をさらっと踏みにじってしまった。違いますか？
I think that's right. She hit the nail on the head as usual. If only I had talked to Hotaru more over the past few days, maybe all of this could have been avoided.
やっぱり。え？ 謝りはしたんですか？マナちゃんに。
She said she didn't want to hear mere words, so she used her kotodama to prevent me from saying I'm sorry.
マナちゃんもだいぶこじらせてますね。まあでもそれもいかにもマナちゃんらしい気がしますけど。
She chuckles really.
それでお怒りは解けそうなんですか？誠さんの手応え的には。
I don't know. She says she'll cancel her kotodama once I properly reassure her.
それはちょっと時間がかかりそうですね。
Hi, but we don't have that much time left.
え？
Maintaining such a strong kotodama on me is taking a huge toll on Mana's body. I'm sure she's almost at the breaking point. At this rate, in the worst case, she'll die.
Huh?
I can't see her face behind me, but she sounds shocked beyond belief. Maybe it's because of how calmly I'm speaking.
ちょっと誠さん、何言ってるんですか？この後に及んで冗談？
It's not a jodan. Mana really might die. The way things are going.
待ってください。言霊ってほとんどリスクなしで使えるとか、そんな話を聞いたような。
I did, because I always thought that was the case. I looked down at my hands. I always thought my kotodama power was just like another body part, like my arms and legs, or legs. No, even now I still feel that way. But a little while ago, Mana told me the truth. A kotodama is words imbued with a part of your soul. To speak a kotodama is to share your life force with another person. Hotaru is speechless. I can feel her body trembling against my back.
やっぱり怖い力。
Her voice is almost a whisper. I've actually been down the same path Mana's going down now. To say Azuki-san, I had to use the strongest kotodama I ever use. She holds her breath. She's smart enough to guess what I must have done. That day, I physically felt how speaking of kotodama drains her life force.
あれ、でも誠さんはちゃんと生きてますよね。どうして？
It's a good question. As Mana tells it, it's because I'm just too untalented apparently.
それで命を使い切るのを失敗したってことですか？
Probably yes.
よかった。誠さんが死ななくて。
She sighs, actually sounding relieved. But unlike me, Mana is incredibly talented. She's one of the most talented kotodama users in the history of her village. So her strongest kotodama not only has much more powerful effects than others, they also take a much more heavier toll on her body.
才能があるんだからコントロールもうまくできちゃうってことはないんですか？自分が死んでもいいから誠さんをつなぎ止めたいっていうのはさすがにマナちゃんだってない気がしますけど。だって自分が死んでしまったら意味がないじゃないですか。
That's true. She probably just thinks she'll know where to stop, but I'm not so sure. The most obvious sign is how her snowfall is getting heavier. I can't help but take it all as an ill omen. Also, maybe her greater skill has allowed her to shut off her pain more effectively than I was able to. That means it'll be harder for her to notice when her body's about to give out.
じゃあ誠さんどうするつもりですか？
I realize that there's only one choice left. Unfortunately, I had to go back to the village with her.
それは残念ですね。
She hesitates for a few moments before replying, and I can hear the sadness in her voice.
ホタルとしてはもっと誠さんたちといろいろ遊びたかったんですけど。
I feel the same way, and I think Mana does too. After experiencing the outside world, both Mana and I have changed. I bring to mind the faces of Kokoro, Azuki-san, Hotaru, Kyoko, Koichi, everyone in school. I never thought we'd be able to make so many friends and have so much fun here. Though our Kotodama did help. I truly believe that leaving the village and coming here was the right choice.
でも、戻るんだ。
Yeah. Honestly, I still don't feel ready to leave. There are things I still want to do here, but
それ、幸せなことだと思いますよ。
she sounds oddly envious.
もういい。こんなとこ嫌だ。で、そういう気持ちで終わるんじゃなくて、いい思い出のままのお別れなんですから。
Ah. She's right.
それに誠さんは、里を出てきた時もそうだったんでしょ？完全に嫌気がさして飛び出したわけでもない。
She's right about that too. I'm surprised you could tell.
誠さんを見ていれば、だいたい想像つきますよ。
Am I really that transparent?
とにかく、それが誠さんの選択なら、ホタルは応援しますよ。何か、ホタルにお手伝いできること、ありますか？正直、あんまりないかなって自分でも思いますけど。
Thanks for asking, anyway. Appreciate the thought. I really am happy that she wants to help me even now. There's actually one more favor I'd like to ask you.
どうぞどうぞ。
After we left, I'd like you to watch out for Kokoro and the others for me.
わかりました。
I think she would watch out for them even without my asking. Ideally, I should use my Kotodama to make everyone forget about us completely. That would be the best way to properly clean up after ourselves, but
残念ながら、ホタルには言霊が聞きません。ごめんなさい。
she doesn't sound apologetic at all as she laughs to herself. Exactly. But honestly, I actually prefer it this way. I'm glad it will be impossible to totally erase the experiences I had here. That there'll be something left of me here. Later, maybe tonight, I'll talk to Mana and see if I can get her to cancel her Kotodama, so that I can perceive other people again. If she does, then I plan to spend tomorrow going around town and erasing as many people's memories of me as I can. But it's possible that I won't be able to finish that before I have to leave. Judging from my own experience, I don't think Mana will survive more than 2 or 3 days in this state.
なるほど。そこを、ホタルにフォローしてほしいと。
Exactly. Even if I do finish erasing everyone's memories, I might miss someone or leave some kind of evidence of my presence here.
なんだか、誠さんの遺言を聞いているような気持ちになってきましたね。
Sorry to always ask so much of you, even at the very end.
いえいえ、どこまでやれるかわかりませんけど、受けたまわりました。
Thank you so much. Really. Meeting you might have been the luckiest thing that happened to me since I left the village.
ひどいなあ、誠さん。
I'm surprised at her unexpected response. Huh?
これから会えなくなる相手に、そういうことをナチュラルに言っちゃうんだから。これがホタルじゃない普通の女の子だったら、こっちもお別れが余計に名残惜しくなっちゃうところですよ。
ごめん。
いいんです。ホタルは普通の女の子じゃありませんから、ノープロブレムです。
No problem. The way that my hand disappears, my back disappears, she must have stood up.
とりあえず、いろいろ謎が解けてすっきりしました。ちょっと、心の様子を見てから帰ります。
Okay. I hope she's doing well.
さようなら、誠さん。
Sayonara. Hotaru. The hint of her presence quickly withdraws, She must have left the room and gone downstairs. Now she must be chatting with Azuki-san and Kokoro downstairs, but I can't hear any voices at all. It's more evidence that Mana's Kotodama is working just as well as ever. I look at the Tokyo. The sun will be setting soon. Mana still hasn't woken up again. I expect that she'll be asleep for some time longer. When I was on the verge of death, I had slept for the better part of the day. Mana said she didn't want me to see her tired face, but I still want to be by her side when she wakes up. That would also be a good opportunity to tell her my plans. Alright. I stand up and head for Mana's room. In the end, Mana didn't wake up until several hours after sundown. At this time, we usually finish dinner and are taking our baths before going to bed. Ohayo, Mana. Though, technically it's evening.
もうそんな時間なの。
She slowly sits up in bed and stretches. Her skin is still a sickly hue, but at least her expression looks more comfortable than before.
心はお風呂かしらね。
She looks around the room and mutters to herself. I guess it's not just that I can't see Kokoro. She isn't actually in the room.
どうして誠がここに？何かあったの？
I had something important to talk to you about when you woke up. She opens her eyes a little wider and looks closely at me.
大切な話ね。私の言霊のことかしら。
There's that too, but that's not all. I come to an important decision, and I need to discuss with you what will come next. She gasps softly.
わかったわ。でも、
She glances at the doorway.
この家だと心たちもいる。外、人のいないところへ行きましょう。
If Kokoro or Azuki-san saw her apparently talking to thin air, they might get concerned. And if that forced Mana to speak even more Kotodamas to dispel those concerns, that would defeat the purpose of me trying to talk to her. You're right, but are you feeling well enough, Mana?
平気よ。眠ったおかげでかなりマシになったわ。
Okay. Either way, I think she'll cancel her Kotodama when she hears what I have to say. And when it happens, I'm sure the burden in her body will suddenly lighten by orders of magnitude. She doesn't seem to be in immediate danger, so we should be fine for now. Where do you want to go?
どこでもいいわ。でも、そうね。うん。
She slowly gets out of the bed and takes her school seifuku out off its hanger on the wall.
せっかくだから、学園の中庭はどう？
Courtyard? That's a little too far away from her liking.
私学園で。ううん。この町で、あの場所が一番気に入ってるの。一度は夜の眺めを見てみたいって、ずっと思っていたのよ。
I like the scenery there too. Maybe she's right. It might be a good place to say our goodbyes to this town. A nice last memory of this place. Alright, then I'll go and change too. Even at this time of night, it's probably best we wear our uniforms when entering the school. Cut the thing of it. This might be the last time I ever wear a uniform.
5分後に、下で。
We made it here without Mana getting tired or collapsing along the way. Apparently her long sleep really has done her some good. Of course, the Kotodama must be continuing to sap her strength even now.
思った以上に、夜の眺めはいいわね。綺麗だわ。
I stand next to her and look around. Illusionary snow falls silently in the dark courtyard. The night breeze blows gently past, ruffling our hair. It really is a magical scene.
里にはないものよね。この景色の雰囲気は。
No. There are many things in this town which we never had in the village. In fact, I'd even say that most things here are that way. And perhaps the most important one to me, at least, is this school and the environment it contains. I'm sure Mana feels the same way.
同じ年頃の子がこんなにたくさんいる場所があるなんて。
I knew about it from books, but experiencing it in person was totally different.
ええ、
She nods with a very peaceful look on her face. She's even smiling slightly. Mana, do you like this place?
好きよ。正直、最初はあまり興味がなかったけど、
She looks at me out of the corner of her eye.
おかしいわよね。誠と私をたぶらかしたところなんだから。憎たらしくてもいいくらいなのに。
Maybe so. But the fact that she doesn't show how much the positives outweigh the negatives for her.
私たち、初めからこの町に生まれていたら、どうなっていたのかしらね。
Me too. In a way, it's a meaningless question. We are only who we are because we were born and brought up in the village.
で、誠、大切な話というのを聞かせてちょうだい。
After a lull in our conversation, Mana turns to me and returns to our original topic.
大きな決心をした、と言ったわね。
Yes, I did. I look her straight in the eye and nod. I have a request for you. I'd like you to cancel the kotodama use on me, here and now.
話って、それだけ？
I shake my head. I decide to return to the village. With you, Mana. Her eyes widen as she holds her breath, waiting for me to continue. So please, Mana, cancel your kotodama. You might think it'll still safe, that you can still handle it. But you're almost at your limit. I can tell. If you wait too long, if the worst were to happen, I could never forgive myself. Right now, I can't imbue these words with my soul. All I can do is pray that she understands how I feel. All I can do is pray that she'll agree. All I can do is pray.
つまり、私の命が心配だから、仕方なく帰ろうと言っているの？
Oh shit. She might think it's not good enough because
私が好きだから、一緒にいたいからではないの。
I knew it. It doesn't translate to that for her, but okay, it kind of makes sense speech wise, man. Technically speaking. Okay, yeah, you're right. Oh, you know what, Mana, you're right. Her expression hardens. It's the same thing. I don't want to lose you. I understand, don't you? We both lost someone precious to us before. Nozomi. I press on. I want you to cancel your kotodama. For my sake, but also for your own. If you do, then I'll go around erasing everyone's memory of us tomorrow. And once that's done, let's go back to the village together. I speak as earnestly as I can. If this doesn't get through to her, I have nothing left.
でも、
She's still hesitant. It's very rare for her to be this indecisive about anything. That must show how close I am to persuading her.
また里を出ていくのではないの。私を置いて。
I already left her once, it's true. I can't blame her for worrying about that. If you think so, you can just use her kotodama to stop me. You don't even have to wait until we get back to the village. You can put a kotodama on me right now. Of course, I prefer that she didn't use any more kotodamas in their current state. But if Mana using another kotodama is the only way I can reassure her, I prefer to make that choice myself. If you want someone to accept something, you have to accept it yourself first. It's an astoundingly simple concept. Mana, you said that your Yuki Noroi was your bond to Nozomi, didn't you? I'll think of your kotodama as my bond to you, as we grow old together from now on. Go ahead. Say it. I hear her swallow softly.
誠、
She slowly collapses into my arms. As I hold her, I feel her body trembling.
一緒に里へ帰ろう。
Yes, this is how it should be. From now on, I belong to her.
二度と私を置いて外へ行かないで。ずっとずっと。私だけを愛して。
She hugs me weakly as she whispers the kotodama softly into my ear. I'm scared that she's almost at her breaking point. Thank goodness, I managed to convince her in time. We stay in each other's arms for some time, silently, as if soaking in each other's warmth. But something's wrong. I can feel it. Somewhere deep inside me.
誠、どうしたの？
Mana looks up at me, sensing my sudden realization. Could it be? No. It can't be. But this feeling. Maybe it actually is. I won't. I test my hypothesis by seeing the words. I won't go back with you. Her eyes fly open and her body stiffens. I'm sure I have the same look of horror on my face as she does. Because I was right. Mana's kotodama isn't working.
嘘。どうして？
Man, of all kotodamas that don't work, it's that one. She slips out of my arms, distraught, and staggers a few steps backwards.
どうして私の言霊が。
I can't believe it either. I really can't. Never in my life has a kotodama manas failed to work on me.
そんな、まさか。私。
A look of dismay spreads across her face as she presses both hands to her temples and groans in a low voice. Mana! As she turns and runs away from me, I try to reach out to grab her. But at that moment, I'm blinded by a bright flash of light. What happened? It's freezing! The sub-zero air touching the back of my neck makes my whole body begin to shiver. The courtyard is filled with a raging blizzard. What on earth is this? Has Mana's kotodama power gone out of control? Even in the last few days, while her Yuki has become more visible and cold, it was still clearly just an illusion. The evanescence of it even made it seem beautiful to me. But this is something else. The kotodama that Nozomi put on Mana must have spread to act on me and multiplied in power, and yeah, there's no time to think about that. Mana, are you there? Where are you, Mana? I look around calling her name, but I can't see her anywhere. Amatsutsumi, I never expected anything like this to happen. A deep foreboding begins to spread in my heart. Mana! I begin to run in the direction I last saw her, toward the main building. Squinting against the fragile, freezing gale, I pray fervently that Mana is safe. What is happening? This is awful. Inside the school building, it's even worse than I feared. Even indoors, torrents of snow whirl through the air, freezing the walls and piling up into the drifts on the floor. Drifts? Mana's snow is an illusion. No matter how cold it might feel, it always disappears whenever it touches anything. But now, it's as if the illusion is starting to eat away at reality. This is incredibly abnormal. There's no question that something else is going on here. Based on my own experience, I had assumed that Mana's symptoms these last few days were caused by overuse of her kotodama. But now I'm realizing that this ever-worsening snow wasn't just a side effect. This was the real problem all along. I don't know whether the shock of her kotodama not working led to the sudden intensification of the snow, or whether it was the other way around. My breath comes out white as I keep pushing onward, but I don't have the time right now to think about how real steam could be created from illusionary snow and illusionary cold. I had to find Mana. But even if I find her, what can I actually do? Somewhere in the back of my mind, doubt whispers softly. Hell if I know! I'll find her, and I will hug her tight. It doesn't matter how impotent I am or how talentless I am at using Kotodama. That I can do. The blizzard continues to grow thicker as I trek up the corridor one step at a time. It's so cold that if I stop walking, I'm afraid my body may freeze to the ground. I have to keep moving. Mana! On a normal day, this corridor is that long, but looking at it through the snow-obscured darkness, it looks almost infinite. Mana must be somewhere inside the building. But where? I don't know. Actually, for all I know, she might have left the building after all. But no, the Yuki is here. And the blizzard is more powerful here inside the building than it was outside the courtyard. I can only assume that she's at the heart of the storm, wherever it may be. I'll find her again, no matter what it takes. No matter what happens, I will never let her be alone again. The wind is very strong. Suddenly, a blast of cold air almost knocks me off my feet when I manage to stay standing. My will to keep going is as strong as ever, but my whole body is going numb. God damn it! I will find her. I promised myself I'd never let her be alone. I try to start walking again, but I can't take another step. My body refuses to respond. For a brief moment, I feel my consciousness slipping away. I try to bite my arm to keep myself awake, but my arm refuses to rise to my mouth. Is this the end? My body won't listen to me. This feels like the exact mirror image of when I collapsed on the side of the road from the heat. On the day I arrived in town, I couldn't move my body back then either. But wait, I did manage to move eventually. How? Kotodama! Of course! Even though I can't consciously control my muscles, all I have to do is speak a Kotodama to myself. But I can't use my Kotodama right now. It's been sealed away by Mana, the most powerful living Kotodama user. So fucking what? Am I going to give up that easily? The hell I am! The hell I'm going to give up on Mana like this? If it's the same Mana, I can throw up any Kotodama, even hers. I know that what I'm saying is ridiculous, even nonsensical. But a fire has been lit in my heart. This is how it should be. The weakest Kotodama user, preparing to challenge the strongest. Anything less would be insufficient. I am he who speaks, being but a word, boon but a word. I take a deep breath, filling my lungs with freezing cold air. I will find Mana and go to her. Stop getting my way! Ogoke! I shout. For an instant, a tremor runs through my body. My legs frozen in place, completely numb, slowly begins to creak to life again. Susume! If you're my legs, then move, damn you! My back foot slowly rises off the ground. It moves forward and plants itself again in front of me. That's what I was hoping would happen, but it shocks me nonetheless. I actually managed to defeat one of Mana's Kotodamas for the first time in my whole life. Yeah, this must be a one-time miracle, only possible because of the strength of my feelings for her. Now walk! I steel my resolve and command my body to keep moving forward. My body slowly takes one more step, and then another, and soon I'm making progress again. Wait. There you go. I like to hear the music. My body slowly takes one more step, and then another. And soon, I'm making progress again. As I get closer to the end of the corridor, the blizzard becomes more and more violent. I'm approaching the last classroom in the hall. It's our classroom. Mana must be inside. One heavy step at a time. I prod ever closer to that last door. Onegai! Be there! Be safe! Mana! Susume. Forward, ever forward. Finally, here it is. I finally arrive at our classroom's door. Snow was piled up against it, and the door seems frozen in its frame. Mana is beyond this door. She has to be. With all my strength, I force open the door, step inside. The classroom is enveloped in snowy silence. Mana stands alone in the center of the room, her back to me and faintly lit by silver moonlight. She's at the center of the massive blizzard, but it's shockingly quiet here. It's as if everything is frozen in place, frozen in time. But as the snowflakes fall gently through the air, she slowly turns around to face me. Even at this very moment, her life force is wasting away. Despite that, as the centerpiece of this magical scene, her beauty takes my breath away.
誠、追いかけてきちゃったのね。
She gazes at me and smiles wearily. On her cheeks, I can see the tracks of tears, now dry. Of course I did. I slowly walk towards her. And this time, she doesn't run away. Were you crying all by yourself?
ちょっとだけ。
Perhaps the quiet white world of this classroom is a representation of her sadness. What on earth is happening here? It's the snow curse, isn't it? The one from Nozomi.
ええ、そうみたい。
She shakes her head, looking at the Yuki as it slowly collects on the ground.
どうもね。これが本来の威力らしいわ。いつもは私が無意識に自分の力で抑え込んでいたというだけでね。
What? I see.
だけど、もうそれも叶わない。もはや完全に。私の手を離れて、暴走してる。
God. Let me try to understand this. Mana has been using her power day in and out to suppress Nozomi's snow noroi, Yuki no noroi. But after using many strong kotodama in the past few days, she doesn't have the reserves to control it anymore. So now it's manifesting with its original strength. Just now, I managed to break one of your kotodamas, the one that was sealing my own kotodama. Didn't that restore some of your power?
焼け石に水ね。氷山に焚き火と言った方がいいかもしれないけど。
There's no time for jokes, Mana. What should we do? Can we stop this blizzard? She slowly shakes her head.
だから、もうどうにもならないの。
She speaks as calmly as she always has.
このまま行けば、いずれ私が死ぬ。そうすれば解決するわ。
That's not a solution at all. I raise my voice despite myself. What's the point if she dies? I'll absolutely not let you die, okay?
ありがとう。誠がそう言ってくれるのは嬉しい。でも本当はそれ、私のセリフなのよ。あなたを巻き込みたくはなかったのに。追いかけてきてしまうなんて。
Of course I did. How could I let you face this by yourself? I could never leave Mana to die like this. If she has to die, I'd rather die with her. But that's not a solution either. I can't give up yet. I'll survive. And Mana will too. We'll both come out of this place alive. We have to. Isn't there anything we can do?
ないのよ。優しい誠。
Her voice, still calm, becomes a murmur.
一つだけ。誠が私を殺してくれれば、あなただけは助かるかもしれない。
Didn't I tell you this is no time for jokes? And anyway, that's a horrible thing to say. I think as hard as I can, desperate for a solution. Is there really no way to break the Noroya holds on her? Nozomi's kotodama was so powerful that all the adults in the village couldn't break it. So I doubt I would fare better with my pitiful kotodama abilities. But I can still try. Mana's curse! Be gone! I put all my energy into a kotodama and shouted at her.
無駄よ。
She shakes her head with a lonely, rueful smile. And indeed, there's no change in this Yuki around us. For a moment, my vision seems to go dark as despair strikes me.
ごめんね。気持ちは嬉しいけど、誠の力ではとても無理。のぞみがどれだけの天才だったか、あなたも覚えているでしょう。
I do. She's right. Nozomi's abilities were almost beyond comprehension. Not only was her kotodama power greater than anyone else's, but she was very mature for her age, and adults treated her as their equal. What is she? Is she the fucking Itachi of the fucking village? What the hell? Anyway, that's why she was able to become the youngest member of the village to ever be chosen for one of the periodic shopping expeditions to the outside world.
誠、もう最後だと思うから、あなたには全てを話すわ。
No, yeah. If you want to tell me something, it can wait. Right now, we need to focus on dealing with this blizzard. No matter how incredible Nozomi was, we can't just give in to her no kotodama. I try to convey that conviction as I gaze earnestly into Mana's eyes, but she smiles sadly and continues.
それができないから、せめて伝えておきたいの。あなたの両親が亡くなったのは、私のせいなのよ。
What? What the fuck? What are you talking about? Otosan died in an epidemic. Mikasa died by transferring her life force to save me from the same illness. I remember that clearly now. Mana couldn't possibly have been connected to those events.
聞いて。あの流行り病を里に持ち込んだのは買い出し組で。
I know that much. And it was obvious. The illness has never been seen in the village, so it must have come from outside.
病にかかっていたのは、のぞみだけだった。
What?
他の買い出し組の大人たちは大丈夫だったのよ。幼くて体力のなかったのぞみだけが帰ってきてから発病し、こじらせて里に死を振りまいた。
I never heard this part before. But what does that matter? There still wasn't anything we could have done about it. Sure, maybe Nozomi was patient zero for the epidemic, but she never asked to be infected. I can't see it as anything more than an unfortunate accident.
いいえ。本当なら、のぞみは買い出し組に選ばれていなかったのよ。私が言霊を使って大人たちの意識に刷り込みをしていなければ。ね。
Oh. Damn. In her eyes, I see a mixture of regret and self-derision. What? What? Why would you do that?
ねえ、誠は覚えてる？のぞみは、本当にあなたのことが好きだった。そして私も。
Her eyes begin to tear up.
でも許嫁は、ただ一人。のぞみだけ。だから私は、あなたを諦めていた。
What are you talking about? Isn't your village going out? I mean, why are you guys not into polygamy or something? Anyway.
諦めなければならないと、自分に言い聞かせていた。だけど、
She closes her eyes and rests her forehead against mine.
あの日、私は偶然、見てしまった。
Oh, damn. She got NTR'd. Holy shit. No wonder. Look at that. Look at those hands. And the person behind. Oh, man. There was a chair. Never mind. Let's continue.
あなたを村外れへ誘い出した望みが、口づけをするところを。
I remember. Back then, I didn't understand what she was doing or what it meant. Even now, I remember this Nozomi's lips and mine, and the strangest thrill I felt in my heart.
そうよね。私も何をしているのかわからなかった。
And why is this your expression then?
多分、分かっていたのは望みだけ。
So she was mature of her age and often talked to adults. She must have known more than us about such things.
でも、わけがわからないのに、胸がとても苦しくなった。今にして思えば嫉妬ね。それで、私は逃げるようにその場から走って、つい両親に言霊で言ってしまったの。望みを今度の買い出し組に入れてって。
Mana. I listened to her confession astounded. Has she been living with a secret burden for all these years? And did I really never realize that? This whole time, no wonder she's been complaining all this time.
もちろん、望みが外で病気になればいいと思っていたわけじゃないわ。ただ、見たくなかった。諦めきれない自分の気持ちを整理するための時間が欲しかった。
That's enough, Mana. You don't have to say anymore. It hurts her to talk this way.
結果は、誠も知っての通りよ。望みも、あなたの両親も、里のみんなも、流行り病で死んでしまった人たち、すべてを殺した元凶なの、私が。だから、この呪いは、報いだと思うの。私の罪に対する。
No, it's not. No, it's not. Mana, it's not your fault. She exhales slowly.
どうして、誠はそんなに優しいの？あなただって、流行り病で死にかけたのよ。今だって、巻き込まれてるのに。
There is a true puzzlement in her voice. Something bitter tasting rises in my chest.
私を責めていいのよ。なじっていいのよ。断罪していいのよ。
Why would I ever do that? I stroke her hair and kiss her on the cheek. Been suffering. All alone. All this time. All this time she's been racked by guilt over a sin for which she can never atone. All this time she's been trying to pretend this snow curse as a bond linking her to Nozomi, when it's really a heavy chain around her neck. I think you suffered more than enough already, Mana. Yeah, you suffered far too much.
だって、そんなの当然じゃない。望みも、あなたの両親も死なせたのに。私は生き残った。しかも、 ずっと欲しかった許嫁の座まで手に入れて、私の罪の深さは底なしよ。だからせめて誠だけは幸せにしたかった。里の未来を担う立派な大人になるように、私の全てを捧げて尽くすつもりだった。それが望みとあなたの両親に対するせめてもの。
Mid-sentence, she suddenly collapses, her body going limp. Mana! 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 Hang in there! Mana! I manage to catch her before she hits the floor. I call her name over and over again, but she doesn't respond. Her arms and her legs are freezing cold. With her body in this condition, it's almost a miracle she was able to stand and speak up until now. She groans softly, eyes half opening. Thank goodness. She seems to be still conscious. Mana, don't give up on me now. I absolutely refuse to let Mana die here. I'm even more determined to save her now that she's told me her greatest secret. It would be far too cruel for her to leave this world, still suffering from the pain of that terrible burden. I'll make sure that everyone is smiling and happy. For everyone's sake, I'll protect myself too. I think back to the promise I once made with Hotaru, and repeat it over and over like a magic spell.
ごめんなさい。もう、私、無理みたい。疲れちゃった。
Mana! What can I do? What can I do to save her? Even if I transfer my life force to her with my kotodama, would still both freeze to death in this blizzard.
ありがとう。巻き込んで、本当に、ごめんなさい。でも、最後に誠と一緒なんて、嬉しい。
This isn't the end. You can't give up yet. You can't. She doesn't answer, but slowly places her shivering hand on top mine. Her fingertips are cold as ice. Is there really nothing I can do? Is there really no way for me to break out of this situation? Kangaeru, what if we're still alive? There has to be a way.
こうで、望みに会えるかしら。怒っていないといいけど、まず謝らなくちゃね。
Her vision must be fading, as she stares blankly past me, far off into the distance. Mate, I suddenly have an idea. The snow curse was caused by Nozomi's kotodama, so Nozomi should be able to cancel it.
寒い。
Mana is becoming even colder in my arms. I shift my body to envelope her more fully as I begin to think further. To start with the obvious, Nozomi no longer exists in this world. So there's no way I can say Nozomi herself. So there's no way that I can have Nozomi herself cancel the kotodama. But what if Mana herself tried to nullify it? Mana was second only to Nozomi in terms of kotodama power. And it's said that the power of the kotodama is strongest just before the user's death. What's more, Mana is older now than Nozomi was when she died. All in all, there's a good chance that Mana should be able to nullify Nozomi's kotodama. Maybe all this time, Mana was only able to suppress it, but not break the snow curse because of the underlying guilt she felt towards Nozomi. But now, I am he who speaks. Bane but a word, boon but a word. I focus all my senses on my kotodama. This is truly my last stand. I can only pray my bet pays off. Listen closely. Mana has never forgiven herself. She accepted this Noroi as her punishment, as her just deserts. She never had the will to truly break the curse. But now I'll ask Nozomi to break Mana's shackles. I am Koizakura. Koizuka Nozomi. The words leave my mouth, carrying a fragment of my life force which intermingles with Mana's. It's a small thing, but it's more than enough for us to share an illusion for a short while. But there's more. As my words enter Mana's ears, they reverberate in my own ears too. I am, yes, I am Koizuka Nozomi.
嘘。のぞみ、どうして。
For people who think this is bullshit, remember that in the previous route, there is support for things like this happening, so you better believe it. Mana's eyes widen slightly, and then I see the flame of consciousness flicker to life.
私、もう、死んだの。
No, you're still alive, along with Makoto. Those aren't the words of Makoto pretending to be Nozomi. I am Nozomi. And these are my words.
じゃあ、どうして、迎えに来てくれたの。
No, that's not it either. Ikiru, Mana.
もう、無理よ。私は。
It's alright. There's still time. Trust me.
のぞみのことは信じる。でも、私、生きていいの。のぞみ、許してくれるの。本当は、怒ってるんでしょ。ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。ずっと謝りたかったの。
I was never angry with you in the first place. So there's nothing for me to forgive. If anything, shouldn't you be angry with me for putting such a weird curse on you? I mean,
そんなことない。私はこの雪のおかげでずっとのぞみのことを忘れずにいられた。いつものぞみが近くにいるんだってそう思ってた。
I'm happy you kept me in your thoughts. But that's a little too long to be grieving. Mana, don't let yourself be trapped in the past forever. Move on with your life. You don't have to think so hard about it. I think you already know what you need to do. I recall Makoto's memories. Just now, you were surprised when the Kotodama you spoke to Makoto. Let's go back to the village together then work. I won't blame you for being surprised if you had lost your Kotodama power. But you haven't lost it. The reason it didn't work was that you hadn't put your heart into it at all. You were lying to yourself, so none of your words came out as a proper Kotodama. Sumari, you secretly wanted to keep living here in this town, didn't you? Mana. Makoto never realized, but I can tell easily. I'm Mana's Nesan. I know her better than anyone. Living here, you had all the donuts your heart desired. That's the most Onesan thing to say, I guess. * You read travel magazines, and despite yourself, you wish you could go and see other places, other lands. You made friends other than me and Makoto. You got a imoto. You tried all kinds of delicious food. Every day was so fun. But, Mana, those are good things. You might not realize it, but you've been moving forward with your life for a long time. You just confuse yourself a little bit because you love me so much, that's all. Mana squeezes my hand. You're not alone, Mana. And you don't have to be. Who do you see in front of you here? Accept what I'm giving you. Well, who do you see in front of you? Here. Accept what I'm giving you. The moment Mana speaks those words, a small bud of warmth blooms in the middle of her ice-cold palm. And moment by moment, it grows and grows. Bro, I'm so mind broken that each time you see something like that in a VN, you think someone just came. The whole classroom is filled with a blinding white flash, and it fades. The snow fades away with it. The biting cold we felt is suddenly no more than lingering memory on our skin. It's like we just woken up from a long dream. We did it. I look down at Mana, cradled in my arms. Her eyes are closed, but there's a peaceful expression on her face, and her chest is slowly moving up and down. She's breathing. She's alive. Mana is still alive. Mana. Yokatta. A wave of emotion rises up in my chest. I'm so happy. Rikato. Nozomi. I thank the empty air. The Nozomi who was here a moment ago was just an illusion conjured up by my Kotodama, from a mixture of manas and my memories of her. But that illusion saved both of us, both of our lives. By the way, if you learn anything from the previous route, it could possibly be Nozomi herself, if you think about it. We were saved by the bonds and happy memories we had shared with her when she was alive. Wait, that is interesting because in the previous route, it was the memory of a single person. So now it's a memory of two people. What if... Come on, Mana. Let's go home. I whispered to her as I left her sleeping form onto my back. Normally, the weight of her would be nothing for me to shoulder, but my knees gave way and I almost fell over. She's no longer freezing, but she's still very cold. If I were to leave her in this state, I would worry that she could still die of hypothermia. My body is exhausted from all that's happened, but I can't afford to class here in the classroom. I had to take her home. Walk. I command my legs to move, and they do. My feet scream in pain at the weight I'm placing on them, but I don't mind. In fact, I'm happy to feel the sensation. Slowly, far more slowly than the average school day, we make our way homeward. My breathing is already ragged. My knees are buckling, and I'm practically dragging my feet along the pavement. It's painful, but somehow I'm having a lot of fun. This is a familiar feeling. I cast my hazy mind back and remember. I think back to the day I first came down out of the mountains and happened upon this town and almost died up on the path near the Jinja. I think back to the day I shared my life force with Azuki-san and almost died on the lake shore. Each time I was saved, first by Kokoro, then by Mana, and somehow I managed to live on. Now it's my turn to save Mana. My legs feel as heavy as lead as I drag them down the road. Soon, very soon, the gentle warm light of our house, Kisuten Origami, will come into view. I need to push on. Just a little longer until I get there. But my body finally gives out and I collapse in a heap on the road. Ita. I somehow managed to hold on to Mana as I fell and protect her from hitting the ground. But I wasn't able to protect myself at the same time. My knees, chest, and face slammed into the pavement. I can taste blood in my mouth. I must have split a lip in the impact. The cool asphalt against my cheek feels strangely pleasant, and I suddenly become very sleepy. No, I mustn't. I can't afford to pass out here. I had to stand up again, even if it means using my kotodama. But even my mouth refuses to move now. I think that this is where I'd meet my end. And so this is where my story ends. Just kidding. And just when I finally broken Mana's Noroi. Just when I thought the two of us had survived. And there are other gods in this world. Gods other than those of us from the village. Then please, I beg you, at least let Mana live on.
Uwa! これはまた、なんて見事な生き倒れ。
What did they mean by this, by the way? Oh, the perfect timing. Well, we already know she's been observing them.
拾ってくるココロンがどうなのかと思ってたけど、いざ目の当たりにすると、誠さんの方にも才能のきらめきを感じちゃうな。
Enter the best girl. Sorry, I got distracted.
あ、ココロン？もう寝てた？こんな時間にごめんね。うん。実はホタル、今、とんでもないものを見つけちゃって。
Wait, I'll be right back. I'll take a little short break. Okay, I'm back.
誠？
Someone is calling my name.
誠？ねえ、そろそろ起きて。
My consciousness slowly rises from the depths. I slowly open my eyes.
おはよう、誠。
The first thing I see is Mana looking down at me, smiling gently. Ohayo. I look around, trying to get my bearings. I'm in my room at the Oribe house, and it seems to be evening.
もうそろそろ、こんばんは。だけどね。
She laughs. So it would seem. I sit up and shake my head lightly. The last I remember, I was carrying Mana back home when I fell on my face on the road. Then I lost consciousness. I'd like to ask one thing.
どうぞ。
This isn't Tengoku, right?
もちろん。私たち、助かったのよ。
I thought she might laugh at me, but she nods seriously.
さっき、私もまるっきり同じ質問を心にしてしまったわ。
Kokoro. Ah, so Kokoro saved us.
ええ、私たちが生き倒れてるのを見つけたのは、ホタルだそうだけど。
Kinda makes you think. Hotaru? Soka. I don't know how I could ever pay Hotaru back for all she's done for me. I'll have to thank her profusely the next time we meet.
ちなみに、私たち3日も眠っていたみたい。
3 days? Wow, it's been 3 whole days since that night, huh?
おかげで、だいぶ体そのものは回復したわ。誠はどう？どこかおかしな、痛いところなんかはない？
No, I don't think so. I haven't really been paying attention, but now that I think about it, nothing hurts anymore. We have very resilient bodies, if I do say so myself.
よかった。誠、
Mana leans over and hugs me tight.
ただいま。
Okaeri, Mana. I put my arms around her. Her bare skin is very warm under my hands. I stroke her hair and she sighs, blushing. She seems very happy.
本当にありがとう。誠、あなたのおかげで、もう寒くない。
I didn't do anything. That was all you and Nozomi. I'm not just being modest either. All I did was provide an opportunity. Mana herself was the one who finally broke the Noroi, and what led the way was our bond with Nozomi.
誠のおかげよ。
She nuzzles my cheek like a cat in a good mood.
誠がいなければ、私、あのまま死んでもいいと思っていたもの。
Mana.
望みの代わりに、誠を支える。望みの代わりに、あの子の歩むはずだった道を行く。それが望みの願いで、自分の生きている理由だと思ってた。
I have no doubt she really did live that way until now.
でも気がついたわ。私はただ、自分の負い目を薄めようとしていただけなんだって。
I can sense a new freedom in her words, as if a weight had been lifted from her shoulders.
いいのね。私、恋塚愛菜として生きて、幸せになろうと思っても。
Of course it is. I clap her lightly on the back as a nod.
愛菜ちゃん、ちょっと早いけど、そろそろお夕飯できるよ。食べられそう？え、ありがとう。いただくわ。兄さん起きてるし。
Kokoro has dropped by to ask Mana down to dinner, but now she's looking at me in shock. Oi, Kokoro? Ohayo?
おはよう。気分はどう？大丈夫？
Yeah, I feel completely fine now. Thanks for asking. And thanks for bringing us back home. Probably no. Almost certainly. Kokoro and Azuki-san have been caring for us over the last 3 days while we slept.
そっか。よかった。あ、しまった。
Her happy smile suddenly changes to a look of alarm. What's wrong?
兄さんの分、まだお夕飯作ってない。どうしよう。それなら、私の分を分け合って食べるわよ。どうせ急にたくさんは食べられないと思うし。
That should work. I think I'm the same way. I don't feel any pain anymore, but I don't think that means I'm completely back to normal yet. I had this weird floaty kind of feeling you get for a few days after being sick. It'll be rough to try to eat a full meal in this state.
ならってどうして抱き合ってるの？
She frowns, finally noticing our tight embrace.
温め合っていたのよ。体も心もね。
Mana laughs and latches onto me even harder.
なんだか冬山で遭難したみたい？
I can't help but smile ruefully. She's closer to the mark than she thinks. But, come to think of it, how has Mana explained everything to Kokoro?
とにかく目が覚めてよかったよ。ホタルに連絡もらった時はもう本気で心臓が止まるかと思ったんだからね。兄さんだけならまだしも愛菜ちゃんまで一緒にいて行き倒れるなんてめだよ。本当にごめんなさい。心配かけて。
Mana gets up from the bed and apologizes to Kokoro while bowing deeply. I feel like I'm looking at something very rare. Wait a second, Kokoro? What do you mean I could accept it was just you again?
どういうってそのままの意味だよ。
Kokoro throws me a puzzled look, as if I asked a particularly stupid question. It seems that in Kokoro's mind, I'm just the kind of guy who often passes out on the side of the road. Well, considering that this is the third time she's found me passed out on the side of the road, I can hardly blame her.
とにかく慌てなくていいけど、ご飯が冷めないうちに着替えて降りてきてね。
She leaves the room and runs lightly down the stairs. I could see her. I could hear her voice. I feel a massive wave of relief wash over me as I realize that life is finally back to normal again.
心たちには病み上がりなのに調子に乗って、こっそり学園の屋上へ星を見に行って。結果、ぶり返してこじらせてしまった。ということにしてあるわ。さっき、私が起きている時にホタルが来て、そうするといいって。
ホタル? そっか。As helpful as usual. I keep thinking this, but I really am indebted to Hotaru in so many ways. じゃあ、you must use your kotodama to make them think that, like you. I was homesick for the past week or so.
ええ、仕方ないわよね。これば出ないと、ここでの生活が破綻してしまうもの。
She shrugs, smiling really. Mana, are you alright?
大丈夫よ。呪いがなくなったおかげでね。
It's true that until now, she'd been using her power to suppress the Yuki Noroi. Now that the Noroi is gone, it might mean she has more power energy to spare than before. But even if so, please don't strain yourself, Mana. There's no doubt that we both spent a lot of our reserves recently, though the effect might not be outwardly visible.
わかってる。
She nods decisively at my request.
もうなるべく言霊は使わないようにするわ。死にたくないもの。これからは人に命じるのではなくて、お願いする練習をしなくちゃ。
That's right. I think that means that she's finally developed a desire to live as long and fulfilling life as possible. That's what makes me the happiest of all. ところで、
何？
Mana, there's something different about you today, isn't there? She looks confused as she puts her hand onto her cheek.
そうかしら？さっき自分で鏡を見たけど、特に変わったとは思わなかったわよ。
You're different. You kind of feel gentler, softer.
誠が言うなら、そうなのかしら？
She doesn't look very convinced, but she smiles at me anyway. See? That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Yes, like just now, when you apologized to Kokoro with a deep bow. Watching you, I was thinking to myself that the old Mana would never have done that. She thinks for a moment, then nods in agreement.
そうね。言われてみれば、自然とそうしていたわ。どうしてかしら？
Maybe it's just a sign of how close you are to Kokoro now. Yes. Now I think I can put my finger on what seems different about her. You finally look like a real Anne to me. Homono Anne. The small wall that still existed between them had finally evaporated.
そう？
She blushes shyly.
まあ、いいことかしらね。本当の家族のように見えるのは。変に疑われて余計な言霊を使わなくて済みそうだし。
Yeah. But it sounds like you're saying you want to stay here and live as Oribe Mana instead of going back to the Sato.
ええ。ダメ？
She looks away from me embarrassed. Okay, and this part of her hasn't changed. You know, I'm the last person who would tell you not to stay here. Laughing, I pull her back into my arms and stroke her head. I look forward to being your Nisan from now on.
こちらこそよろしくね、お兄ちゃん。
You were able to rediscover something you lost when you were a child, just like I did. I'm glad for you, Mana. That is a very strange transition. It just goes to full white and then 2 lines and then black. Dinner time was boisterous with all 4 of us at the table again. Afterwards, Mana and I decided to go out on a walk by the lake shore. Kokoro was worried and wanted to come along, but Mana managed to persuade her to stay behind, saying that she and I had something important to discuss alone. Kokoro finally relented and saw us off at the front door, without any need for a kotodama. Mana hasn't said a word since we left the house. She's just walking quietly by my side, but she doesn't seem to be in a bad mood. There's a contented smile on her face, and she seems calm yet cheerful. How's this area for a place to talk? I stopped near the same spot where we were standing the other day when we were out on our date.
そうね。いいかしら。
She stops walking, too, and turns to face me. I look back at her, waiting for her to speak. Damn. She looks so different from how she looked in the classroom that night.
まず、改めてお礼を言わせてちょうだい。本当にありがとう、誠。私を助けてくれて。
She bows deeply. You're very welcome. But everything I did, I also did for myself. After all, I'm the one who set out the snow curse to grow into a raging blizzard. In fact, I should apologize to you. All this time you were suffering so much, and I never noticed.
そんなの、私が誰にも言わなかったんだもの。わかるわけないわよ。
She smiles ruefully before continuing.
ずっと一人で抱えていくつもりだった。死んでいった人たちに本当に申し訳ないと思いながら。それでもやっぱり私がどうしても怖かったの。真実を知ったらみんな私を恨むんじゃないか。何より誠が私から離れていってしまうんじゃないかって。だから言い出せなかった。身勝手よね。
Everyone fears being hated by other people, Mana. I take her hand and think back across the years to a certain day long ago. Mana, when Nozomi kissed me that day, what exactly did you see?
その、
She mumbles.
どこからっていうか、知ってるところを見てしまったのよ。
Huh. Then you didn't see what happened just before that.
手前？
That day before she kissed me, Nozomi said something to me with a terribly tense expression on her face. She said, Makoto, no matter what I do after this, will you promise not to hate me? Her voice was trembling. I think she was afraid. That's right. Thinking back on it now, it's a very cute episode. Even Nozomi, who Mana and I thought was so mature for her age at that time, was so worried about what I would think of her.
わかるわ。私も初めての時は怖かったもの。抱かれることであなたをがっかりさせるんじゃないかって。
I felt the same way. Everyone is scared of disappointing others, especially so when the person in question is someone important to them.
ままならないものよね。自分の気持ちって言霊で枷をはめた方がずっと楽だと思う。
It is, but normal human beings live their lives without that.
ええ、すごいわよね。神よりもよほど。
She exhales softly, squeezing my hand in return.
で、ここからが本題よ。心して聞いてね。
Okay,
誠、私はあなたが好きよ。望みの代わりの言い名付けとしてではなく、恋塚愛菜、私自身の意志として愛してる。だけど、あなた自身はどう？私はあなたとこれからも言い名付けであっていいのかしら。
Mana's words carry weight as they enter my heart. Man, oh man. This is actually a hard one for me, unfortunately. This is actually hard for me, but I have to keep going. I had to face myself and think honestly about how I feel. I want to... This sucks. After this route, you know, it's we're gonna keep going. It sucks though. I'm not gonna lie, but we have to keep going. Man is really great. Man is really great. But we had to keep going. Gomen, Mana. I don't want to confuse matters, so I start by stating my conclusion as directly as possible. I do love you too, but my love for you isn't so much romantic as it is fraternal. Over the past few days, as I come face to face with the possibility of her death, I've come to better understand my feelings toward her. I know I never made such a distinction between different kinds of love, and maybe there's no need to now either. But
いいわ。それ以上は言わなくて。
she interrupts me with a smile.
確かに、そうかもしれない。お互い初めから選択の余地もなく、一番近くにいる大切な人だった。
Exactly. But I'm still happy you were my betrothed.
私もよ。でも、それは今までの幸せということね。
She nods in understanding, then sighs softly.
残念だけど、一区切りね。仕方ないわ。
Mana, arigato. It's painful to say this to the girl who loved me enough to follow me all the way here from the village after I left. But I still had to say it. I would like to call off our engagement for the time being.
分かったわ。それがきっとお互いのためだと私も思う。
Man, this is literally actually hurting me. Oh damn. It felt like I actually did it.
でも、織部マナとしてはまだしばらく関係を続けさせてもらうけど、それは構わない？
Of course. In fact, if you hadn't asked, I was going to ask you the same thing. I squeeze her hand again. This time, it's a handshake.
私を振ったこと、後になって悔やんでも知らないわよ。
She winks at me and shakes my hand in return. Sure, but even if I do regret it, I'm sure it will be a pleasant kind of regret.